Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Karen Kinzel, Director of the Palo Alto Art Center, and I'm so excited to invite all of you to our very first virtual Friday night at the Art Center. We have a wonderful lineup of creative activities for you tonight, from a chance to hear from the curator and artists to hands-on art activities, cocktail demonstrations, and some surprises by Palo Alto players. But first, I would like to acknowledge the Honorable Mayor of the City of Palo Alto, Tom Dubois, who would like to make a special welcome to our virtual visitors tonight.
Yeah, hi, this is Tom. This is my partner, Masako. Thanks for including us tonight. Um, I understand that usually you get about 500 people to this event when it's live. So I just want to say appreciate everybody that's attending virtually. And this exhibit we're celebrating tonight, I think, is just central to the story of America. I mean, we are all from someplace else. We're all immigrants, if you go back far enough. And I think people bringing their origin, where their heart is into art is something that we can all relate to and really appreciate the emotion behind. So thank you to the Art Center for continuing to use art to bring our community together and to help us all get a better understanding of our shared human experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dubois. As many of you know, we are not able to open to the public based upon the state of California and Santa Clara County guidelines, but we hope to be able to open the exhibition at 25% capacity when we get to the red tier. The exhibition is beautifully installed and I look forward to sharing it with all of you. Many thanks to our exhibitions team, Joe Sachs, our preparator, Anna Soland and Amy Cohen, our exhibition registrars, and the installation crew of Danny, Laura, Lini, and Ivan. I would also like to thank our funders for the exhibition, the National Endowment for the Arts, the California Arts Council, who sponsored the Sanctuary City project, and our individual supporters who've made this exhibition and residency happen. And last but not least, I would like to thank our exhibition curators, Selene Foster and Andrea Antonaccio Wagner, and introduce Selene, who will share more about the exhibition in this brief video. She's very excited.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us virtually here at the Palo Alto Art Center. We're so sorry that we can't be there with you in person, but we're so happy to have you here in this way that we can for now. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to where the heart is. So this show is very much like other shows I've done in the respect that it's about something that I've really wanted to know more about it, understand better, and feel more deeply about. So I personally was told that my ancestors came over on the Mayflower, which is a bit different than the experience that the artists in this show had. So it was really, really meaningful for me to be able to get to know them and their work and understand where they're coming from, and I hope the same is true for you. There are more foreign-born residents in Santa Clara County than in any other county in California, about 38%. In a state that has more immigrants than any other, and a country that has a larger immigrant population than any other in the world, this is a really meaningful statistic, and one I don't think that we should ignore. The artists in this exhibition inspect their identities and heal divisions using thoughtful encounters with strangers and an empowered gaze. With great confidence, each has refused to conform. With improvisation and adaptation of both media and spirit, they give representation to those communities who are often unheard. And these artists push beyond the boundaries that are counterproductive, the categorizations, and they fearlessly enter a world of hybridization. Looking into the faces in the portraits exhibited here, it's easy to feel connected by a common humanity and also appreciate the significance of history and ancestry. And a sensitivity to both is the grace we have on offer, and it's one I hope we all choose to accept. There are so many works in the show that could be highlighted, but since you won't be able to be in the space and see the videos that we have, I think I will leave you with one small bit of a piece by Guillermo Galindo, which I think is particularly poignant and lovely. This particular piece is called Cosas de Niños, or Children's Things. And in this piece, he plays music using an instrument that he created himself, as well as many objects that he found at the border that were left behind by children. So I will leave you with a minute of that, and I will thank you so much for being here and for supporting the Palo Alto Art Center, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon.
Thank you, Selene. Just a small note that you can register for the Galindo talk and performance on the Mills College Art Museum website or check the Art Center's Facebook page. I also want to highlight that we'll have artist lectures by 4 of the exhibition artists coming up in the next few months. Those are on our Facebook page and website as well. So next, I'm delighted to introduce the Art Center Foundation bartender extraordinaire, Melanie Jacobs, who will be walking us through the steps to create a fabulous Manhattan. We're going to take a quick break just for a couple of minutes if you would like to gather your cocktail supplies and get them organized if you want to follow along at home. So just a very quick couple-minute break, and then Melanie will join us.
Hi there, and welcome to the virtual Friday night at the Art Center cocktail break. In keeping with the theme of tonight's show, New Americans, Immigration, and the Immigrant Experience, I thought that we could do a drink that was popularized in the New World, and then a more contemporary drink to celebrate the current New Age. Our New World cocktail is the Manhattan. There are a couple of stories about the origin of this drink. The most popular one involves Winston Churchill's mother hosting a banquet at the Manhattan Club sometime in the mid-1870s. The event was supposedly so successful that people started to request that Manhattan cocktail. The story is considered apocryphal, as during that time she was probably pregnant and in France, not partying in New York. The true origin story of the Manhattan will probably never be known, but it certainly seems to have originated somewhere on the island of Manhattan in the late 1860s or early 70s. Traditionally, a Manhattan is made with rye whiskey, but over the years this has changed a couple of times. During Prohibition, Canadian whiskey was much easier to come by, so that was the most popular choice. Nowadays, if you ask for a Manhattan, the bartender will almost certainly grab a bourbon. My feeling is that you should enjoy the drink, so grab whatever whiskey you have on hand that you enjoy drinking without a mixer, and let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is chill the glass. Alcohol tends to taste pretty bad at room temperature, and the traditional way this cocktail is served is in a martini glass, so chilling the glass keeps the drink colder for longer. Next, grab your cocktail shaker and add a generous amount of ice. Add 2 ounces of your preferred whiskey. Fun fact, if you're using Scotch, you're making a Rob Roy right now. I happen to have Eagle Rare on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. Now, add 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. If you prefer your drinks on the less sweet side like me, you can reduce this down to about ½ an ounce. If you want a sweeter drink, add a small splash of the cherry juice from the maraschino cherries that you're going to use as a garnish. Finally, we're going to add 2 or 3 dashes of Angostura bitters to the shaker. If you have a different brand on hand, that's fine, but Angostura is traditional and every bar in the Western world has a bottle or 4. If you order a Manhattan in a bar, they will probably shake it because that's much faster. But traditionally, this is a stirred drink. You want to be pretty vigorous with your stirring because we're trying to get the whiskey super cold. The longer you stir, the more the ice is going to slightly melt. This is a good thing. If you ever do whiskey tastings at a distillery, they're going to add a splash of water to the whiskey to open it up. The longer you stir, and the more water that gets incorporated into the drink within reason, the smoother and less bitey the drink is going to be. Now, empty your glass. Shake out as much of the moisture as you can. And we're going to strain the Manhattan into the glass. Add a cherry or two. I have Luxardo cherries, but if all you have is the bright red or even the fluorescent green maraschino cherries, that is A-OK. I can't say maraschino today, apparently. If you don't like carrying around a martini glass, or if you'd prefer the drink over ice, it's completely okay to pour the contents of your shaker directly into a rocks glass instead. Enjoy!
Thank you so much, Melanie. So at this point in the evening, I would like to turn it over to our esteemed colleague, Elizabeth Santana, the Managing Director of Palo Alto Players. We're delighted to have Palo Alto Players make an appearance tonight in the theme of immigration and immigrants' contributions to our cultural landscape. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hello, I'm here. Hi, thank you so much to the Palo Alto Arts Center for inviting us to be part of the celebration of this wonderful exhibit. For those of you who may not be familiar with Palo Alto Players, we are your local theater company. We're currently celebrating our 90th anniversary season, and we're neighbors of the Arts Center. We perform at the Lucy Stern Theater, and that has been our artistic home since 1934. We are a theater that was created by and for this community. And the Bay Area is home to a deep and diverse pool of creative theater artists. In a typical year, pre-pandemic, we work with hundreds of actors at Palo Alto Players. And as theater makers, as storytellers, we encourage our actors to bring their personal journey into the roles that they play, which always equates to rich and meaningful performances when they are grounded in their own humanity. And I think a really great example of this, what I wanted to share with you this evening, was our production of Flower Drum Song. All of the artists that performed or were on the creative team were themselves immigrants or first-generation children of immigrants. And our mission with Flower Drum Song was to really reclaim this Asian American immigrant narrative with respect to their parents, grandparents, and ancestors, and to really find the joy and the heart in this story. And we did that with the very community of artists the show represents. So in the first video we're going to share with you tonight, you will see clips from this production, and you will hear a personal story from actor Justin Lopez, who is a son of political refugees. So enjoy this video.
My father says that children keep growing, rivers keep flowing too. My father.
I was born in a tiny, tiny town in northern Nevada to a Filipino mother and a Chilean father. And I always wondered how these two people from opposite sides of the globe converged on this tiny town to start a family. And in each case, both were fleeing political regimes. Both of my parents were political refugees. My mother was fleeing the Marcos regime in the Philippines, and my father was fleeing the Pinochet regime in Chile. In each case, both of my parents were extremely active against the government, speaking out for the rights of the common people in each country. Both had close friends in their circles attacked, seriously hurt, or worse, by the government. And so in each case, they fled. Growing up as the child of two political refugees was interesting because although my parents were both activists, they really tried to instill in me a sense of putting my head down and working and not speaking out, because they had experienced firsthand what could happen and what was at stake for speaking out, and they didn't want that to happen to me. However, I really quickly, as I grew up, started rebelling against that. And for me, it became so important to speak out for what's right. And it's a huge part of what drives me as an artist, is to advance social consciousness, human rights, and global citizenship. It's something that I strive to reflect in my work, to put up on a stage, and to really change people's minds and hearts. Growing up as a child of political refugees was not easy, especially in my tiny conservative town, but it really made me who I am, and I am so grateful for it.
Thank you so much, Palo Alto players. We're delighted that you are part of this event with us tonight. At this point, I'm hopeful that you are ready for your next cocktail. Melanie is joining us once again to make our second cocktail of the evening, this one a margarita.
For our new age cocktail, we're going to make a margarita. The general consensus is that the drink was first invented somewhere in the late 1930s or early 40s. Frozen margaritas started to be seen once blenders started becoming standard bar equipment in the 50s. But the horror of the frozen, watery, sugary, tasteless, cheapest tequila possible frozen drink really started to take off in the 1970s after Mario Martinez, a Dallas restaurateur, invented the frozen margarita machine. We are not going to be following in his footsteps tonight. Let's make a drink. Firstly, the glass. In just about any Mexican-themed restaurant in North America, you will get a margarita in a margarita glass, which looks like a coupe glass with a green stem designed to look like a cactus. If you have one, great. I'm using a rocks glass. Take the glass in your non-dominant hand and a wedge of lime in the other hand. Run the lime around the edge of the glass. Now gently roll the damp rim in the salt. Shake any excess and put it to the side. About the salt. In general, a coarse, flaky salt such as kosher salt is preferable, but if all you have is table salt, that's fine too. Tagine works great, especially if you're using a chili tequila. A flavored salt can also work well, but be aware that a strongly flavored salt will potentially overpower your drink. If you don't like the salt or only want a little bit, then you can either skip this step completely or just run the lime around half of the glass so that you have a salt-free zone to drink from when it gets to be too much, like this. There's some ice in the cocktail shaker. And then we're going to add 1.5 ounces of tequila. Traditionally, you would use a blanco or a white tequila, but I only happen to have this delicious añejo at home, so that's what I'm using. On a side note, if you enjoy sipping tequila, I can highly recommend Partida Añejo. This is my go-to tequila. No, I don't get any kickbacks from Partida. I wish. It's just delicious. Now we're going to add 1/2 ounce of orange liqueur, triple sec, Cointreau, or any other orange flavored liqueur. If you have fresh lime, squeeze about 1 ounce worth into your shaker. Depending on how juicy your lime is, it could be 1/2 lime or up to 2 to 3 limes. If you have store-bought sweet and sour or a margarita mix, add 1 ounce of that to your shaker instead. For those of you who use fresh lime, add a heavy splash of simple syrup or a spoonful of white sugar or your favorite no-calorie sweetener instead. Put the lid of your shaker on securely and shake that drink hard. If you have granulated sugar or sweetener in your drink, it's going to need some time to dissolve, so you're going to need to shake it a bit longer and a bit harder. It's always good practice to use both hands and hold top and bottom of your shaker. There's a few things as annoying as getting covered in a sweet and sticky mess because the lid flew off while you were showing off and shaking with only one hand. Now we're going to add some fresh ice to our pre-prepared glass. Strain the drink in. And add a lime wedge as a garnish. Make sure you give the lime a little squeeze before you drop it in the glass. Cheers.
Thank you, Melanie. I'm now honored to introduce artists Sergio de la Torre and Treggiari, who together form the Sanctuary City Project. Thanks to a generous grant from the California Arts Council to the Art Center Foundation, the Sanctuary City Project is in residency with the Art Center this winter. Sergio and Chris will now take over to talk about this amazing project, which combines participatory printmaking and social justice. Welcome, Sergio and Chris. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Karen. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting the project to the Palo Alto Art Center. Also, thank you to all the staff at the Palo Alto Art Center for all the help during this installation. I'm Sergio de la Torre, and down there is Chris Treggiari. Chris. I'm gonna share my screen, and Karen, can you give me access to that? Can you make me a co-host?
We're gonna figure out how to do this. Hang on, Sergio.
Yeah.
It should be good to go.
Okay,
Awesome.
good. Okay, awesome. It's right there. All right. So can you see this, Chris? Say yes. Yeah, Chris, can you see it?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, good. So the Sanctuary City Project starts as a research project in 2008. But in 2017, YBCA invited us to install a different iteration of the project. So this is the time when the project became a print shop. The print shop involves deep research on immigration policies and sanctuary cities. There is vinyl on the walls, a timeline from '89 when San Francisco became a sanctuary to 2017 when the piece was installed. There are tables on the installation as well, and screens, inks, and squeegees. There is a close-up of the vinyl, so you can see 2006, 2008, 2010 on the bottom. The timeline includes deportations, detentions, raids in San Francisco by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, laws, initiatives, policies, acts. This is in San Diego at the Museum of Contemporary Art. And now the timeline is digital, so you see in the center screen, and then you see some posters on the wall. We'll talk a little bit about more of the posters in a second. The tables are here, and so are the screens. This is what information you'll see on the screens. And if you are old enough, like my age, remember 1994, Pete Wilson proposed the Proposition 187 that deeply affected the undocumented community by denying them health services, education services, and stuff like that. This is in San Diego also. So now the quotes that we collected are installed on the windows. If you've been to San Diego before, the museum is in downtown San Diego. So these are on Broadway and Kettner Boulevard. So you don't need to come inside the museum to see the piece. You can see it from the streets. This is in Seattle at the Batchen Gallery, Seattle University. And now we have 4 digital screens. We have quotes inside the rooms. We have the tables once again, screens and inks. The quote reads, "You forgot you were an immigrant." And we have a new component this time, which is this video at the end of the gallery. And the video is 45 minutes long, and there are pro-immigration protests in the United States since 2017, I'm sorry. These are the questions that you'll be asked when you come to the installation. And these questions, when you are part of the immigrant community, you have answers to. So for us, we wanted to ask people that come to galleries and museums if they had any idea about immigration policy in this country. So that's why we designed these questions. You come to the gallery, you sit back in San Francisco, you'll print the question, and then you'll give us an answer. And the answer look kind of like this. We have received around 2,000 answers in the last 4 years from San Diego, San Francisco, and Seattle. And the answers, they become these posters. So we have collected out of those 2,000 answers, we have around 40 original posters. Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Sergio. Yeah, and the key to think about the posters is these are people's voices, these are people's words. And so what we're doing is we're collecting this kind of feedback and then turning those into the posters. So none of it is from us. It's from the community. It's from people that we're working with, not only with the, printing the posters, but also with different nonprofits we're working with and nonprofit constituents that we've engaged with over the course of the project, starting in 2008. So now we're looking at, a large range of people from young to old printing at YBCA. This was a demo we did in San Diego, about a 3-hour demo with the students from a local high school and college there. We printed with them, and then we took the posters and actually wheat pasted onto a wall adjacent to the museum with the posters that they created that day, and had a really amazing conversation surrounding sanctuary cities and immigration policy. This was a group of students in Seattle. This great woman is helping this other woman with a broken arm, just a wonderful picture. Yep. this is us in elementary school, actually, in San Francisco. It's an Italian immersion school. And Sergio and I, we did a whole demo. We print made with the students, and we had a really amazing day. We didn't know what to expect, but these students were so up to date with what was happening. They had opinions on the wall. They had opinions on Trump. They had opinions on immigration, and they were well informed. And so it turned out to be a really interesting conversation with a group of young people, on a Tuesday in San Francisco. It was a really wonderful day. This was at a rally at the ICE Attention Center in Richmond. And so we brought a series of posters there that day and handed them out to the ralliers. And, just another powerful moment of how a poster and people can come together to try to create change with what was happening with our past administration. This is a mobile bicycle. So another component of the project is Sergio and I use mobility as a tool to get the word out, to get people's voices out, to get the posters out into the public. And we've made a series of bicycles over the course of the last 4 years that utilize the posters and printmaking as a way to get out into public space, bring it out of the museum and gallery space and into the public where we can have unexpected conversations with people just walking by. This was at the deappropriation wall, admission in between 23rd and 24th. And this was on Cinco de Mayo. And what we did was we wheat pasted the deappropriation wall, the whole wall that day with a series of posters. We were also printing with the public. As you can see on the left-hand side with the umbrella, that was another bicycle that we used to print with the public. Over the course of, I want to say about 8 hours, we wheat pasted about 200 posters. And by the end of the day, we had this really amazing wall that, I don't know, it was just a really, really wonderful celebration and a really great community event for us. So that's a sampling of the posters. We left a Sharpie in the middle of the wall, and people over the course of the next couple of days started to write notes on some of the posters. And this is a small excerpt of what people wrote. So it was an interesting kind of collaboration with the public on this wall and with our posters. We started doing, this is with ICA, Institute of Contemporary Art in San Jose. We brought the bike down. We were part of a bicycle show. And so we brought down our printmaking bike and we started, this was our first large scale vinyl mural. As you can see, the mural was "A Country the Immigrant is Here." And we started to combine those with the bike. And when we get to a space, we put up the vinyl and then we would print out "The Country the Immigrant is Here" as a poster for free takeaway. This was at Minnesota Street Project. As you can see, another vinyl mural piece, and the printed poster was a kid deported yesterday. And then we got invited by the Silicon Family Community Family Foundation. I believe I'm saying that right.
Silicon Valley Community Foundation.
Yeah, sorry. I always mess that up. We did a series of 6 murals down there. We got commissioned to do these murals on their walls inside. And so, yeah, again, stretching the vinyl out, thinking about context and space and really trying to make the words and the formal, the formal design work with the space and our partner that we were working with, which was the foundation. So where will people go? We had a nice long curved wall here. So we stretched that out. And try to make a powerful piece with that. And we also did a series of tote bags. Sergio, do you want to go?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We designed this tote bag. It's only one quote that we use in "I'm an Immigrant," and we printed 250 bags. We sold 150 of them, and some of the money that we made went to a nonprofit in Tijuana, San Diego in 2018. They were working with the Central American Caravan. So this is someone in Berlin, someone in New York. This is Mexico City, and this is good old Disneyland. The bags, they flew faster than the posters. So all of a sudden they were all over the planet. That made us very happy. And also the nonprofit in Tijuana. This is our first billboard that we did here in San Francisco. This is on Mission Street between 19th and 20th. And this is part of the For Freedom's billboard campaign in 2018. They had invited artists from all over the 50 states in the United States to propose billboard projects. And some of them were funded, some of them were not. So, you know, that year we saw hundreds of billboards all over the country, pretty much addressing not only immigration issues, but climate change and racial injustice, police brutality, and stuff like that. In 2019, we got a commission from the San Francisco Arts Commission, and we installed 4 billboards in San Francisco. So this is on Howard and 5th. This is on 14th and Mission. And this is on 8th and Mission. And the money, we got the money in 2019, but we installed them in 2020. So this is right at the beginning of the pandemic. This is March, I believe May and June. We also started playing with banners. This is our first banner, and this is a 2x6 size of the banner. We later installed these banners at an abandoned building in Hunters Point, the old Hunters Point shipyard in San Francisco. These banners later took us to another location in San Francisco. This is on Mission 18. This is a building that Meta purchased last year. Meta is the Mission Economic and Development Agency. So we installed 10 banners in the building, and the banners are basically quotes from the posters. This is in Berkeley Arts Center. We installed 6 banners here. So now we're playing with color. You know, not the first time that we actually use colors in our project in terms of a background. This is in Massachusetts right now at the College of Liberal Arts. They were installed last week. And because of the pandemic, Chris and I can no longer travel for now. And this is in San Antonio, Texas, at the Blue Star Contemporary. We got the invitation a couple of years ago to go and present the project last year. Because of the pandemic, we cannot travel, so we basically send them posters, send them quotes, and we send them the entire timeline on the TV screens. And then once again, the posters are for free. People can back and pick them up. And so far, we have sent them around 500 posters. The video is once again part of the exhibition. And the way we get response from people in this project, in this installation, I'm sorry, we have a billboard outside the museum that says, when do you forget you were an immigrant? And there's a phone number people can call. So far in the last 3-4 months, since November, we have received around 250 answers to that question. So most likely they will become posters at one point. And Chris.
Yeah, so then, you know, just to follow up on what Sergio was saying, it was interesting. In San Antonio, we've received 240, 250 unique responses. And in Western Massachusetts, which is in the Berkshires, I don't know if so many people are familiar with that, but a little more conservative area, we've only received probably 30 to 40 to 50 responses. So it's interesting to see different locations and, you know, who's responding to what and how they're responding as well. It'll be interesting to see the nature of the San Antonio responses as opposed to the Western Massachusetts Berkshire area. But anyways, this is Palo Alto Arts Center. Sergio and I were just installing down there for the last 2 weeks, and we're excited to have the piece up. As you can see, this is in the glass gallery. We have our 2 tables in here. On the left and the right-hand wall is the vinyl piece, The Country of the Immigrant is Here. And in the middle is a new glass piece that says, where would you go back to? And so as you can see, the glass piece reflects the whole room and reflects back into The Country of the Immigrant is Here. And so we're trying to have a dialogue with those 2 pieces and thinking about Where would you go back to was a conversation we first had at Seattle University with a group of students, and it always stuck with us. And then Sergio turned that into a beautiful poster. And so we want to have this back and forth with where would you go back to, putting yourself into that mirror and thinking about the country of the immigrant and who is here and why they're here and where would they go back to and why did they come here, right? These are the types of questions we're trying to ask with this piece. A little context with the tables. Those tables have traveled with us for about 4 years now. So all of the ink and the paint on there is the patina from place to place where people are printing posters and engaging with the project. So these tables are very special to us. They are made out of a 4x8 sheet of plywood, real nice plywood, obviously, and they're kind of our tool / archive of the history of the printmaking process so far. Next. This is a close-up of the mirror piece that we're excited about. Yep. Can you go back to that for a second, Sergio? Yeah. So in the pink area too, I think it was myself right there. Yeah, that area. That's 12 screens that we have at the space right now. And so as long as we can start to get people coming back, we're working with a really amazing artist, collaborating with this artist named Christopher, who's going to help us print and do some printing outside, hopefully. And so we have a series of screens at the space that we would like to work with people. And at the same time, we're also going to be giving out free posters. Okay, next. So as Sergio was saying, during COVID, we really had to think about how to take these pieces out and really kind of amplify messaging without working with people. And so this is another version of the mobile billboards. We were lucky that Susan O'Malley and the Palo Alto Arts Center had this beautiful piece ready to go for us right on Embarcadero Road. And so once Susan's wonderful pieces came down, we had the opportunity to install there. And what you're looking at is, as you can see, where the children moving into Abolish ICE. And so the trio works as, again, talking about what's happening in the news, talking about what's happening in our country under the past administration. And we feel as though these types of conversations need to be happening as hard as they can be, to at least get to where we are now, where hopefully some change can be happening. Next. Sergio, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And so this is the last slide that we'll show you. And this is the facade of the Palo Alto Art Center. When Chris and I went back to see Karen and Joe to talk about the installation, and they showed us the facade, and Chris and I started talking about it, how to use the facade, because it's such a powerful space to intervene. So knowing that COVID was not going to go anywhere, we decided to take that video, that pro-immigration protest video, outside in the form of photographs. So at one point, I was also thinking about the title of the show that used to be The New Americans. And I think the New Americans are people that are, very aware of their rights. And it can be, these very young kids, so you can see in the center here, over here, to like older people, people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. I think that people are tired and ready to raise their voices. And I think this facade allowed us to do that, to kind of like go and install this piece and make sure that people come and read, this message. And it's in Arabic, it's in Spanish, it's in Chinese, it's in English. And it goes from like, again, very young to, seniors, Black, white, natives, Latinx, Arabs. So if you have a chance, if you haven't seen it, please go ahead and see the facade. And I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm not sure any questions right now, Karen, or?
Yes, thank you so much, Sergio and Chris, and thank you so much for your work. And I just want to acknowledge that your flexibility, it has been a tremendous challenge trying to think about what participatory printmaking might be like in a COVID environment. And it has been incredibly inspiring to see how you have made changes to your work. It is really valuable to have opportunities for outdoor installations that people can see and enjoy as part of your project. we'd like to open it up for questions for the community. If you could just put your question in chat. Due to our webinar format, we can't unmute you, but we would love to hear any of your questions for Sergio and Chris about the Sanctuary City project.
And then, one thing I wanted to add, Karen, was for Palo Alto as well, we've printed around, I want to say 350 to 400 posters that are not only living at the center right now, but we're also going to be distributing them out in the community with the help of our collaborator, Christopher, and the Arts Center. So we're excited to still have that exchange happening, which is really at the core of the last 4 years of what Sergio and I are doing to spark conversation. And so it might not be necessarily us handing you one or you printing one, but at least you can still get one. So there's a lot at the Arts Center, so come join and grab some.
And I should just mention that thanks to Selena, who's behind the scenes coordinating this event, she's got a stack that are actually available outside the Art Center now. So please come by, and we ask that you take only one, so that there'll be enough. So Amanda's asking about bags available for purchase and how can she be of help?
Yeah, bags available. Yeah, we have bags available. I mean, we had to print them. But they are $15, 15. And so yeah, you can just email us, and we can send you a bag, definitely. And by the way, I'm having a Manhattan.
Nice.
I learned how to make them.
Awesome. I'm having my cocktail later.
Okay.
Other questions for Sergio and Chris? Selene. Selene's having a Manhattan. Selene, we are hoping right now, because we're in purple, it is unclear what we're actually going to be able to do in terms of participatory printmaking. So there is no schedule, but we will definitely be posting updates on our website. So right now we've been contacting community partners about the possibility of distributing the pre-printed posters through community nonprofits. And the hope is that we'll be able to do some outdoor community engagement, and we will definitely put that out on our website. What are we giving out at the Art Center? We are giving out pre-printed posters that Chris and Sergio have screen printed as part of the project. Right outside the Art Center, please take only one. Jennifer said, what surprises did you discover during the course of this project? How did what you hear and see match your experiences for the initiative?
I can answer that, Chris, and you can add if you want to. In 2008, when we started the research, nobody was paying attention to these issues, right? We got a new president, and we thought it was gonna be good for immigrants, but it was not. Anyhow, 2017, fast forward, and Trump is elected. There is so much attention to this project that at the beginning, we had no idea in 2017 that we were gonna be making these posters. It was kind of like, an experiment on having conversations with the community. And so it's taken us to all these different places, from not only from museums and cultural centers, but also universities and high schools and middle schools and elementary schools. So the attention is there, and probably was there back then, 2008, but institutions were not paying attention. So that's a huge surprise for us. And billboards, tote bags, banners, mini billboards, that's something that we never imagined. So I think that we're learning how generous this project is to us, that it keeps us very busy expanding the conversation on immigration in sanctuary cities.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exciting part too is just sharing the research. And as Sergio mentioned, we've been doing this research since 2008. So the timeline that you'll see, or hopefully you'll see at the center, is a timeline that we've put together for the last 12 years. And it's constantly evolving and constantly shifting by location where we're showing the timeline, but also the content. And so we're excited for you to take a look at that and engage with it. And one of the surprising things for me was when we were showing it, talking at people at Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, how many people didn't even realize what a sanctuary city was, or really was kind of, uninformed on what was happening. And so it's nice to have this platform as a way to have some of these conversations that hopefully can be eye-opening for some people that aren't, not necessarily following along or aren't as aware.
There are a couple questions in the chat about the broken text and the broken lines. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. The quotes, the responses are kind of long. The response to the questions. I come from filmmaking, so I come from a documentary filmmaking. So interviewing people is part of my training as an artist. When you interview someone, you have to edit down the interview to kind of like fit whatever documentary you're working on. So in a way, looking at the responses, it was kind of like that. How do you edit them down in order to like fit them in an 18 by 24 piece of paper? Because for some reason, Chris ended up making these, buying these fill screens that were 18 by 24. So we had that space to include these answers. English is my second language, as you can tell. So I wanted to make it as hard as it is to me for others to read it, right? So instead of just like reading something, you're saying it when you read it. Also, if you look at concrete poetry and the shape that you get by mixing letters and whatnot is quite beautiful. So not only the positive space, which is the letter itself, the font, but the negative space around the letters. So how can you make things that are more somehow sculptural, I think. So that's one of the ideas behind breaking down the language like that. Helvetica is a font that is in every street that you go to in this country. There's a movie about Helvetica font. So if the first modernist font. So I'm intrigued by modernism. I like to change what we think of modernism. And how do you do it by using their tools?
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, I think they're very sculptural as well, as Sergio mentioned, and that's what's really been helpful for us during COVID as well. We've been able to turn these into some interesting kind of sculptures, the way we're seeing them as. And so it's been nice to kind of blow those up and transform the size and transform, the format. And the original format has allowed us to do that, which is really exciting. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you so much, Sergio, for sharing this amazing project with all of us tonight. We are excited to work with you over the next few months, and Christopher, we want to acknowledge his help and support through this process. And please look out for updates on the Art Center website about distribution opportunities, participatory printmaking opportunities. It's really all dependent upon what we're able to do in our current COVID environment. So I also wanted to just put out a kind of call out. On the call today is Christine Duval, a friend of the Art Center who has actually been working with a couple youth in the East Bay who've initiated a project called The Butterfly Effect, Migration is Beautiful. And they have been working to collect origami butterflies in order to raise the awareness of detained migrant children. And she is working on an installation for the Art Center that will be up in March. Hopefully you'll be able to see that as well. So we are actually collecting origami butterflies. So also outside the Art Center, available 24/7, you can pick up some origami paper and get some instructions on how to make an origami butterfly. And you can take the origami paper, make your butterflies at home, and then bring them back to the Art Center. We have a bin where we're collecting them. So again, that's outside the Art Center. We are closed to the public. So our kind of outdoor area has been a kind of pickup zone. So pick up your Sanctuary City poster and pick up some origami paper and make some butterflies and drop them off for us. Okay, so at this point, we're going to transition to our hands-on art making activity, but we want to give you all a break so that you can gather any materials so that you'll be ready for the hands-on art making. So just a reminder that you'll need really any kind of paper for this, and any kind of drawing material will also work. So we'll just give you a couple minutes to get those organized, and then you'll be able to be joined by our education team, who will talk a little bit about the hands-on art activity. Thank you again, Sergio and Chris. Delighted to have you here at this event.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lucy Larson, Director of Education at the Palo Alto Arts Center. Throughout this pandemic, the Art Center has continued to offer classes, both in person when possible and virtually for youth and teens. After school and weekend art classes are scheduled to start again on February 27th in ceramics, drawing, painting, and illustration. In-person classes are held in our beautiful outdoor spaces, and participants are masked and socially distanced. There is still time to sign up the youth in your life for a fun, safe, and creative way to get them out of the house. School programs are continuing virtually this year as well. Cultural Kaleidoscope, our Artists in the Schools program, is working with 18 classrooms to provide live art lessons that connect to science, social studies, and language arts curriculum. Project Look, our field trip program, has pivoted to Zoom. In the fall, we engaged 53 classes, and we have 59 classes signed up for a tour and art making project for this exhibition. Tonight, Hee-Won Park, Project Look educator extraordinaire, is going to lead you through an adult version of this tour's art project. You're going to create a self-portrait of who you are on the inside, rather than what you look like on the outside. Take it away, Hee-Won.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hee-Won Park. I'm the Project Look educator. And during this pandemic, I was able to continue our tour program for our school K-5 classrooms. And with the help of the new technology on Zoom, I was able to show the art pieces that was installed in the gallery space and have a conversation with the students, and also provide an art project they can easily do at home. Unlike the normal time before the pandemic where I could use the materials in the studio, I had to give them a project that they could easily do with their materials that was available in their house. So most of the projects that I've been doing only require blank paper, any kind of blank paper, and any materials they have, including pencils, color pencils, crayons, markers, and watercolor if they wanted, anything really. So my project is going to be very open-ended today. And first, I will like to show you the one that I've been working with our kids. And I'm also going to show you a little more adult version of the project I've been working with our classrooms. So as Lucy had mentioned, today we're going to work on a self-portrait, but our focus is going to be on who we are inside rather than what we look like on the outside. So there were some questions that I also asked the kids when they're on the tour. The big question for them is what makes me me? So I asked them a few questions to think about who they are and what they are like inside, including who am I? Like think about the roles in your life, in the different relationships you have. For example, I'm a mom to my 3 kids, and I'm also a daughter to my parents and a wife to my husband. Seems like 3 different roles, but that's part of who I am. Also, I wanted them to think about some interests, some things they like, including their sports, could be sports, music, different things in their life, or interest, hobby, meaningful part of their life. Also, I wanted them to think about their personality. It is really hard to find one word to describe who they are or what their personality is like. So for example, I told the kids, sometimes I feel really happy, but sometimes I feel sad. And that's okay to have both sides. So I wanted them to come up with 5 to 7 different characteristics or roles in their life that is meaningful to them. And then we wanted to create a very simple self-portrait that explains who they are. So here is the example that I showed to the kids. So again, because our focus was not about how they look on the outside, this person didn't even have to include the whole face. So we only had the top of the head and then had different words that describe who this person is like. And then I actually gave the kids a choice to decorate lines with patterns to make it a little fancy, and they could color wherever they wanted and however they wanted with any materials they have. For the younger kids, I also showed a little simpler version of it. This is a girl with a big heart who loves Lego, her cat, likes her school, loves her mac and cheese, and loves her little brother. Today, I wanted to add a little more than these simple drawings because I know a lot of you are very artistic and probably would love to have a little more complicated art than that. So today, our end result will look like this. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this pattern workout called Zantangles. I don't know if anybody have done this before, but this is a really great way to kind of spend your time. And it is a really great way to actually, especially on Friday night when you're drinking your martini, or actually we made 2 different cocktails tonight. You can easily do this while you're sipping your cocktail. So if you happen to have any black markers or Sharpies, that might be very helpful, but if not, that's okay. Any kind of coloring tool you can use will do. So this is just a practice little squares, but you can pretty much come up with any patterns you have. So I have some of the squares already filled in, but I would like to show you a different way how you can come up with your own pattern. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and you can really do in any way you want. So for this one, I can just keep adding more circles and have the circles meet in however way you want it, and you can have many different sizes fit in there. You can even choose to color in between if you want. And you can also have different patterns, and you could like there's something that repeats, or you can also have something that is more spontaneous. So this is more like a wavy pattern, but I can add a little bump along the way and make it go around the bump if you want. There really is no wrong or right way to do this. So I'm pretty sure everybody is familiar with coming up with your own patterns. So when you are doing your self-portrait with the words that is meaningful to you, you can pretty much start off with a part of your head. You can either have the whole face or the whole body or just top of the head. I'm just gonna simply show you how to start. You can, for this one, I'm just gonna have a top of the head, and you can either have big sunglasses for a sunny day, which I love to wear. And again, you can use any materials you would like to use. I will have a little crazy hair today. I always show my kids in the classroom a crazy hair day hair sometimes. And then you can have different lines coming out from your head. Your choice of how many ever lines you want to have. If you happen to have 20 words that describe who you are, you can have 20 different spaces along over your head. And if you do not want to use words, you can have simple drawing of whatever that represents who you are. Or if you rather want to have just different patterns of Zantangles all over your head, that's fine too. Again, like I'm just going to use some words that is meaningful to me, like art. Like I love working at the art center. I love my dog. His name is Milo. I myself, by the way, is an immigrant. I was born in Korea and came to the US. So I love Korean food. So you can choose whatever the word that is meaningful to you. And then we're going to make these lines in between the words double lines. Just to kind of have that empty lines in between those busy Zantangles to kind of differentiate. And then you can really start filling in these spaces. But think about as if you're having a little bubble around this these letters. So you would not have the Zantangle patterns to completely take over those words. So you can kind of imagine having a little bubble around the word. And then you can sort of kind of start adding the patterns. And you can always do this like really mindlessly. And it actually calms you down sometimes because you don't really have to think. while you're doing this. So some people actually find it really calming and soothing, but not everybody. According to my husband, who is a scientist, he doesn't find this soothing at all. But it's your choice of pattern. And you can add very organic patterns that doesn't always look like it's repeating. And you can also have, you can make a grid if that's easier for you to fill in some spaces. And start coloring, alternating. Oh, sorry, that shouldn't be colored. Alternating spaces to make it more patterny. And then you can, of course, use any coloring tools you have, including color pencils, marker, watercolor, paint. And you can even use it on different sizes of paper, different types of paper, and any kind of materials that is available. And actually, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. I'll try to answer some questions if there's any questions. You can put it in the chat. No questions, I guess. Oh, what age of student responds the most to this lesson? Our program project look serves K through 5 classrooms, but most of the classrooms are, I would say, between K through 3. 4th through 5th grades are less likely to join our field trip programs, more like younger ones, but we do serve K through 5. And for the fall season, I've served middle school, and also for this season, I'm serving some high school classrooms too. But we're originally designed to serve K through 5 classrooms. I think that's about it.
Thank you so much, Huan. This was awesome.
Well,
and
thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy, as well. I can kind of show you my little, my example here. I need to work on it a little bit more. I think it needs a little bit more love. This was a really exciting opportunity to kind of bring Project Look to a larger audience. So thank you so much. We're now going to invite Elizabeth Santana back to introduce our next Palo Alto Players video. Excellent. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, this evening reminds me of the power of the arts to open hearts and to open minds, and really the resiliency of artists, especially over the last year when we've been pivoting and adapting in this COVID environment. You know, at Palo Alto Players, we really strive to be representative of the community that we serve on our stage and off, and the stories that we tell and who tells those stories, it matters. So we want to create opportunities where everyone is welcome into the space and artists can bring their whole selves to their work, drawing from their personal histories and allowing others to do the same. So before I introduce our video, I just want to leave you with a quote from Donna Walker-Kuhn's book, Invitation to the Party. She says, "I firmly believe that the arts is the only pure vehicle we have in today's society that crosses cultural and ethnic boundaries and allows people to transcend their differences. Today, more than ever, the need to clarify misunderstandings, erase social strife, and celebrate diversity is vividly apparent. It is through understanding our diversity that we can appreciate our shared humanity." And I think the key word here is celebrate, and that's what has been for all of us tonight, is a celebration of art. So I want to turn it over to our final video, where you'll meet Masami Savage, who's an immigrant from Japan, and Ruri Kodama, whose parents immigrated from Japan, and they will share their personal stories with you. And thank you so much for this opportunity to be a part of this tonight. And we hope that once it is safe to gather again, we will see you all at the theater. Have a great evening.
was born in Japan and grew up in Tokyo. When I was a child, my mom took me to see musical theater Peter Pan. I was really excited and I thought I want to be a dancer. Later on, I learned dance, voice, and acting. Meanwhile, I was thinking about moving to New York. When I visited New York for the first time, I was really surprised. Everything was inspirational. I thought I really like American culture, so I decided to live in America. First, I got student visa for dance school, and I got green card. I did a lot of shows. Right now, I live in the Bay Area. I am happy to be here.
My parents immigrated to the US 20 years ago from Japan, and I'm born and raised in the Bay Area. I discovered theater through my family friends. We had a few that were doing community shows, and I would always enjoy watching them. And I remember just begging my parents, "Oh, like I want to do this too. I want to be up there." Eventually, I found Palo Alto Players and was fortunate enough to perform in Flower Drum Song. Well, Flower Drum Song is a story about family and coming to the States, making sacrifices. I've definitely had conversations with my parents about them immigrating here, their dreams and their hopes of coming here, and what they want for us for the future. And I think Flower Drum Song really helped connect us and have that conversation, which was really nice. And I was able to bring that onto the stage as well, just thinking about them and what they've done so that we could be here. And I think there's also part of identity in Flower Drum Song. We're trying to just fit in with society, and sometimes you might feel like you might just not fit in, and you're trying so hard to be more American, and so we're not, Japanese, and I think that kind of conversation was there as well, because for me, that's something I'm still trying to figure out, because I know I'm Japanese, I'm also American, and sometimes I feel like I'm left out from both because it's different from how people see you and perceive. And so that's something that's a thought that came to me when working on Flower Drum Song. And I'm still working through it and just figuring out myself as well. February 4th is actually an anniversary date for my family coming to the States. It's going to be their 20th year. It's big, and I asked them, how do you feel? It's been 20 years. He came here in 2001. I can't imagine that. But he said that time flew by so fast. And here we are 20 years later for them. It's crazy.
Thank you to the Palo Alto Players. Those were really amazing videos. I loved hearing what the players had to say about their immigration experience. I've also just really enjoyed the program tonight. It's been great to finally be able to offer a virtual Friday night at the Art Center. And so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Fanny Retzik. I'm the director of the Adult Studios program at the Art Center. And as everyone said, while the Art Center is closed, we currently cannot offer any programs indoor or outdoors for adults. But we do have a few really exciting online virtual classes coming up. Virtual classes are a great way for us to stay connected to our fellow artists, learn a new technique, see demonstrations, work together on projects, and just hang out until we can come back to the Art Center and meet again in person. So through the adult studios, we actually have an upcoming workshop that's open for ages 12 and up. So it's appropriate for adults as well as young tweens and teens. It's a fiber arts class taught by Charlene Chow. And it's in this workshop on February 21st, you will learn how to make a homemade cardboard loom and several weaving patterns. Charlene learned this technique from two Native American women in Santa Fe who have created this modern take on their community's centuries-old weaving traditions. And she's excited to be able to share it with our community. We also have a drawing class taught by Rachel Phillips, who's the author of a book, Drawing Illuminated, and she's also a longtime Art Center life drawing participant. And we have a jewelry challenge project moderated by Natalie Esfahanian, where our jewelry and metalsmithing artists will be challenged to replicate as clearly as possible a natural object. So those are the adult virtual classes we have coming up, adults and teens. More are being planned as we continue to be able to, not be able to be open. Sorry, I'm so nervous. So I'm gonna drop the link to our catalog in the chat. And so you guys can take the time to click into our catalog, see what we have to offer regarding classes for adults and for youth. And hopefully we will see you all when we're in the red zone. Thanks for participating.
Thanks so much, Fanny. Thank you all for being here at our very first virtual Friday night at the Art Center. I want to thank Palo Alto Players. I want to thank the artists Chris Treggiari and Sergio de la Torre. I want to thank the staff that you saw tonight. You saw Selene, you saw Fanny, you saw Lucy, you saw Hiwan. Thank you all. I also want to thank the amazing staff behind the scenes who helped make this program possible. Selena and Karen Kwan and Paige Swinton. Thank you all for making this happen. You're going to get a email after this event tomorrow that will include a link to the recording for those interested. And you will also get information about our upcoming virtual artist talks. So while we are closed, we're excited to be able to offer a series of artist talks with artists included in the exhibition. So those are free and they'll be virtual, a safe opportunity to learn about the incredible work of artists in the show. So with that, I want to thank you all again. I appreciate you being here. We appreciate your support of the Art Center and the support of arts during this time. Thank you all.